Students, what was your school's biggest scandal? A woman with severe medical issues, both physical and mental deficiencies, snuck away from her group home and hid in the broom closet of our cafeteria for 2 days. She ate all of our garlic bread, took someone's jacket, and walked out 36 hours later. This was in 2007. We didn't have cameras or anything, and no one saw her go in or out. They only knew she was there because the jacket had the name of the high school, and when she was found, she straight up told the police she had been hiding in there for 2 days. The group home said she had been missing for roughly a day and a half. Parents were upset, obviously, but nothing changed until last year when the school shut down due to low attendance admission enrollment. Next story. This actually came out during my last semester there, but it had been happening for years. One of the English teachers had been having sex with a few select students every year. Most were football players. It got really weird. When I had her class, it wouldn't be out of place if a student from another class asked to go to the bathroom and just went to her room to see her. One day, some kid brought her a drink from McDonald's because he was late to school and got breakfast. It only came out that there was this one girl who was in an argument with her for some reason and said something along the lines of, "That's why you F your students." And the whole incident got brought up to the office and they interviewed everyone. Found out she'd done it with multiple students for the past few years. Edit. I've been getting a lot of comments, and this was in... all I'll say is that it was in Georgia. You know, I lived in Georgia for a short time. This seems to be common practice on the East Coast. I don't know what's in the water out there in Georgia, but yeah, the teachers definitely like to get into it with their students in more ways than one. Next story. It was in 2007, but my high school had a string of bomb threats. There was a bathroom where no cameras could see who went in or out, and someone wrote in Sharpie across one of the stall doors, "There's a bomb in the school," with that day's date. The school was evacuated, and we all went home. For the next few months, there was a bomb threat seemingly every day. We'd be in the middle of the first or second period, then we'd all go home. After we missed enough days, we all had to come in on several Saturdays, and the bomb threats stopped. Yeah, nothing like the stop of fake bomb threats than threatening to increase class time and prolong the school year. Gotta love that. Next story. In my senior year, one of the popular football players was killed while he was driving drunk. It was obviously big news on campus, and just a few days after, the school had this giant memorial on our football field dedicated to talking about how great of a guy he was and how he'll be dearly missed. He also got like 5 consecutive pages in our yearbook dedicated to him. But not long before his death, a less popular band student had self-unalived, and his death didn't receive nearly as much coverage. He didn't get a giant memorial, and he didn't get mentioned in our yearbook. One girl made this giant rant about this double standard on Facebook, and it went viral around our campus. Our school was split. Some people praised her for pointing it out. Others were pissed and said that what she did was inappropriate. Even one of my English teachers defended the football player. She said that his death was a tragic accident, whereas the band student chose to die, and that there's a big difference. This girl went on to leave the school because she was getting death threats from friends of the football player, and our entire campus was completely divided over this whole incident. Next story. At the end of my senior year, we had bomb threats about 2 to 3 times a week. One of them was written in lipstick on the mirror of one of the girls' bathrooms. It said, "Bomb Banana." It was so ridiculous. Crap like this had us standing out in a grass field for hours while the police checked the building. Edit. This was in Florida. We probably didn't go to the same school. I'd be surprised if anyone from that podunk-ass school was on Reddit. Next story. Chemistry teacher spilled mercury in the lab at my high school. She tried to clean it up herself, which only further contaminated the lab, and didn't tell anyone about the spill. She was arrested, and it cost the school $60K to have it cleaned up. Don't know what happened regarding her charges. Next story. My sophomore year of high school, the gym teacher's brother gets hired as the computer teacher. Nice guy, who was personable, not as much as his brother, but still. 2/3 through the year, he just vanishes, and most of the teachers don't want to talk about it. Eventually, it gets out that when he was in college, the computer teacher got into a barroom brawl. During the brawl, he took a pool ball, put it inside of a sock, swung it, and smashed a guy in the head with it. The guy who got hit had permanent brain damage. The school found out midway through the year, and that's why they let him go. Can things like this actually elude a background check? Did they even run a background check? Questions here. How does this slip through the cracks? Terrible. Next story. There is a male head of year who was gay and had relations with a guy who was a minor without knowing he was a minor. He left the school, but I believe did not face any legal repercussions because it was clear that he had been deceived into thinking the individual was an adult / could legally give consent. Next story. Girl attempted to self-unalive herself in the girl's bathroom. Guy got caught having sex with a teammate in the locker room after practice. 3 girls caught snorting cocaine in the bathroom. Someone was boinking a teacher, but we never found out who. Teacher resigned. Someone put Red Hots in the hand dryer in the boys' bathroom and it caught fire. 4 years of school, 3 fire alarm pulls. Growing up in a 3K population town in the middle of effing nowhere was crazy as hell sometimes. These events were over my 4 years of high school. Next story. Not that juicy, but the basketball coach / gym / sex ed teacher was a teacher who clearly hated working with wee little craps like us. So some of us did some investigating how he came to be our phys ed teacher. Turns out he had been a basketball coach for one of the top university teams in the country just 5 blocks away from our school. But he violated ethics codes by playing players who were academically unable to play and had evidence of him talking to professors about their grades. Got sacked, and our high school, basketball scholarship / private type, jumped at the opportunity to pick up a coach banned from university leagues. Of course, he'd have to run gym class and teach 13-year-olds about their changing bodies as well. Guy really lucked out. Next story. The biggest scandal there ever was in my school was on the news. Some student left a racist and homophobic note on a black gay teacher's desk. It basically said that he should be ashamed of being gay and that, quote, little black cowards shouldn't be allowed in a school. Really bad crap. Reporters were all over the school. The teacher filed a report to the cops, but they were never able to catch the one who did it. Next story. Had a few. High school math teacher got a DUI on a tractor and was fired. PE and CS teacher had an affair while both were married to other people. They eventually both divorced and ended up marrying each other. Accounting teacher married a student about a week after she graduated. Rumor was that they were already sleeping together when she was 16 and she was pregnant before graduation as well by the teacher. A couple bomb threats. Next story. My high school did a block lunch where everyone ate lunch at the same time instead of separating them into A, B, and C lunches. Because our cafeteria couldn't fit the entire student body, it was normal for kids to be eating in the hallway, on the floor, or at tables all throughout the school. One day during lunch, unbeknownst to the staff and student body, our AP decided to hold a lockdown drill. He got on the intercom and told everyone there was an active shooter in the cafeteria in order to see how kids would react had it been a real shooting. Turned into pure anarchy. Kids calling 911, running out of school and not returning to class after the drill was over, kids having anxiety attacks while hiding in classrooms, dying calls from students to parents. It was pretty bad. Should I mention how this was several days after the Parkland shooting? Next story. Teacher and student were arguing about something. Student got in teacher's face. Teacher yelled at him to get out. Student said no. Teacher spat in student's face. Student pushed him against blackboard. Video ends. This class was hella annoying though. There are so many videos about them harassing the teacher. One guy rolled a cig in class next to the teacher. I think he was expelled, and multiple students as well. Next story. So, on the day ahead of a huge event that was going to happen in the auditorium of our school, someone pissed on the audio equipment in the auditorium of our school, and it ended up not working anymore. The principal announced that anyone who was a witness and who could tell them who the culprit was would receive 500 euros from the school. Turns out it was someone from our neighboring class, and probably 8 to 10 guys from that class went into the principal's office to rat him out and receive the money. Just that the majority of them who went there were just claiming to have witnessed it to receive the money as well. The guy got expelled from school and had to pay for new audio equipment, which was probably at least around 3,000 to 4,000 euros. Though I don't know whether everyone who ratted him out ended up receiving the 500 euros or not. Next story. Not my current school, but a teacher was fired for cheating on his wife with ex-students. Was a shame because he just had a kid. My significant other's school recently had a TA leave, and then a Snapchat of 2 sixth form students in bed with him was leaked. Next story. I'm out of school now, but in high school, it was discovered that a student had attempted to print the statistics exam to study before the test. This was found out in the morning when the teachers went into the math office, put more paper in the printer, and out came the exam that the stats teacher did not print. Now, cheating at my high school was punishable by expulsion, so the teachers all flipped out. This was fall exam, so we had a whole year of school assemblies where we all got talked to. I was a sophomore at the time, and only seniors took stats, but they were basically trying to get anyone who knew something to talk. No one ever said a word. No one guy got in trouble. Nothing. We even talked about it after the seniors graduated, and no one knew anything. So either someone is amazing at keeping secrets, or the stats tech printed it by accident and didn't realize and found in the morning because the printer ran out of paper. Next story. Had a couple weird teachers, lol. Came invisibly drunk every day, was an alcoholic. Rumors say he smoked inside the classroom. My brother had him as his maths class 5th grade year. Said it was terrible. My arts teacher gave better grades if you'd show some cleavage. Rumors say he died of cancer a couple years later, all alone with no wife and or children. I guess I myself made it onto the list because my ex-BF didn't delete the nude he promised to delete, and showed them to everyone whether they wanted to see them. I was called a slut during all my remaining 4 or 5, not quite sure, school years. Edit to clarify. He took the picture while I was sleeping. I did not know about it till he broke off with me, because he wanted to rub it in my face, I guess. Next story. A kid was trying to get initiated into the Bloods. Part of this is committing a serious act of violence, so he brought a Glock to school and tried to kill the school resource officer. Principal tackled him the second he saw him pull out the pistol. Everybody hated the principal until that day. We were on CNN that night. Next story. We had a lot of special needs kids in my school. Most didn't need special care, they were just thrown in normal classes, which I don't think is fair to the kids who may have needed extra help to fit in. Anyways, luckily, the kids in my school were really productive and kind to the SN kids. In my senior year, we voted for one of them to be the prom king, and we all cheered and stuff. But anyways, there is a video going around of these 2 girls bullying one of the SN kids, and it ended up going semi-viral. The girls were receiving death threats, and the next day at school, over 200 students were waiting at the entrance to bully/fight them. Everyone was super nice to the kid that got bullied, and the girls had to get escorted by cops for their protection. TLDR. Some girls were going to get beat up because they bullied a special needs kid. Next story. Someone nailed a Photoshop pic, almost real looking, of one of our teachers sucking a male private along with a used condom onto the school notice board. She was pretty young compared to the rest of the teachers, and the moment she came to know about this, she started crying and went AWOL for almost 3 weeks. Then, one day she comes to our class, says goodbye to us, and leaves the school permanently. She was one of the best teachers in school, and literally every student had a crush on her. We felt pretty bad for what happened with her. It's a shame that whoever did that was never caught. Next story. 3 popular students from my high school were drinking and driving and speeding around town. Eventually, they drove into a tree doing 120 kmph, and they all died on impact. 3 pages in the yearbook, an assembly, counseling, memorial, and a day off from school for 3 guys who endangered the lives of others. About 6 months later, a student got hit by a car speeding through the school zone while he was crossing the street. This kid wasn't popular by any means, mostly kept to themselves, but he was a nice guy and was really into music and computers. Not a single mention in the yearbook, no announcement, no assembly, no counseling for the people that knew him, no memorial, nothing. It became very apparent the popularity contest among teachers and the favoritism they showed the more popular students. The principal actually had to step down the year after I graduated due to her personal interests conflicting with her professional responsibilities. Next story. This was late 80s in a pretty conservative town in the South. Janitor went into the choir room at my high school and saw that a camcorder was set up on a tripod. He thought it was odd because stuff like that was supposed to be locked up in the AV room when not in use. He rewound it a bit and watched it. Turns out the uber-Christian choir director had filmed himself dancing in front of the camera while cross-dressing. He was gone within the week. Next story. Some kids didn't want to take a state-mandated test, so they lit fireworks off in the bathroom, but they didn't realize how quickly they would explode, and all 3 of them got burnt. The whole school had to stand outside for hours. Next story. In high school, the female dance teacher had a relationship with a 15-year-old female student. The dance teacher and her husband had a threesome with said student and videotaped it. The husband also got a tattoo of the 15-year-old girl's initials. Next story. Firstly, Happy Cake Day. Now, let's get down to business. Off the top of my head, there are two main incidents I can think of. From what I know, a package containing a bunch of fake IDs that were ordered by and to be distributed to dozens of students at our school was intercepted somehow. Our school was notified. Two of the ringleaders, the people our classmates were ordering fake IDs through, were expelled, and various others were suspended. Students who turned themselves in early were given a lighter sentence than those who waited for administration to track them down. For some, it was a very frightening couple of weeks, but for us non-alcohol drinking, never been invited to a party mega virgins, it was a spectacle. The other relevant incident happened more recently, this year in fact. In the past couple of months, probably due to recent headlines, admin had been cracking down hard on vaping on campus. All bathrooms, popular juuling spots, for example, were fitted with frosted glass doors before the school year began so teachers could spot smoke or any signs of suspicious activity from outside. That didn't seem to deter very many people though, and numerous students have already been suspended after being caught taking hits in bathrooms or practice rooms, or wherever the F. Some have been expelled due to being repeat offenders. Honestly, it's one thing to slip up once, but getting caught on two separate occasions, I don't have much sympathy for those people. All this is probably pretty commonplace in high schools nowadays, but I just felt like sharing. Next story. The French teacher kicked a girl that didn't leave his classroom fast enough. I was in the class during the incident. About 2 weeks in, nothing was seemingly happening. Students were questioned and a warning was given, but not much else. But one fateful day, the French teacher entered the lunch hall. Some kids started booing him, and quickly others started to pitch in, and soon enough, he had 1,400 high school students booing him and throwing stuff at him. It was almost like the ending of Matilda, but even more grand. He quit shortly after. Next story. When I was in high school, one of my teachers got married to an Indian immigrant. They got married at the damn school on the front steps. 6 months later, she divorced him and brought her Indian husband over from India and married him in the US. The teacher had no idea that he was being used and had a total midlife meltdown, quit his job, and went off the deep end. Another one was a gay English teacher who constantly sexually harassed the boys. Not blatantly, but through innuendo and flirting. He got away with it for years because he had the female staff wrapped around his finger. I'm 6 years out from graduation and he just finally got fired. Next story. When I was in middle school over 14 years ago, our principal got arrested in school for stealing kids' Adderall and Ritalin. This was back when, if you took medicine, you had to go to the office to have it given to you. Parents were wondering why their kids' meds were running out before the script ended, and it was being given to their kids by the staff. They installed cameras without his knowledge and caught him. Frost Middle School. Next story. I got 2 stories to tell. First was the German teacher, who was extremely hot. For my high school, was married to an English teacher and decided to cheat. He decided to cheat with the cheerleader coach, who's also a teacher at the same school. Teachers had student assistants, and the very much liked German teacher had his computer connected to his phone. Assistant saw pics and text and had screenshots. The whole school knew before the English teacher. She found out in the middle of a class when she found a printout of the text. The married teachers got divorced, and the cheer coach also got dumped by her boyfriend. All 3 still work at the same school. The second story involves a senior. There is a rumor circulating that she was pregnant. Well, she had clearly gained weight, but she didn't look pregnant. Her ex-boyfriend's mom brought it to the attention of the school, and she was able to provide a letter from a doctor stating she was not pregnant. Reason why this letter was required was because she was supposed to go on a trip with her school choir group to Russia. Lo and behold, once in Russia, she had to go to the doctor due to stomach pain. Stomach pain turned out to be a full-blown labor that resulted in a baby boy. It was a big mess. Her parents refused to fly out, and our principal actually had to fly out to Russia since the rest of the group was supposed to fly out the day after she had given birth. Turns out the letter that she had turned into the school had been falsified by her mother, who was aware that her daughter was indeed pregnant. The principal had to stay there with her till the baby was able to fly back and get the baby appropriate paperwork. Upon returning to school, expelled to grow and sued her and her parents for all expenses. Her mom's reasoning was she was a senior and she wasn't going to miss the most important days of her life. Next story. Young kid, freshman, maybe sophomore, was at a party and decided to pleasure themselves onto a passed out person. It was recorded and the video floated around. He was subsequently grounded by his parents. His parents allowed him to go on a run one evening and unalived himself in the woods. Next story. There were quite a few. I've posted this in another thread before. None of them are as nearly as big as some of the things already in this thread. Aside from the obvious nude pics being sent around school, the following things happened while I was at school. Had a week-long string of bomb threats. Would have probably kept going if the administration didn't threaten to tack on extra school days to make up for us going home early. Student beat the choir teacher with a chair. Students killed a deer, shoved it in a hockey bag, and dumped the carcass in a stairwell. School administration threatened to strip tenure and fire a teacher for, quote, not controlling the classroom after attempting to have students permanently removed from her class. We were on the news for this. Many didn't participate, including myself, but throughout the day, fire alarms were being pulled, glass was being broken. The situation almost caused a riot. Some students of hers went to her hearing to give their side of the story and stick up for the teacher. I'm sure I'm missing quite a few, but these are the ones I remember. Next story. I'm neutral on the incident I'm about to describe. I didn't take part in it, and I'm not going to criticize it, but I don't support it either. I just happened to be there to witness it. One girl started coming to school without wearing a bra, which was somewhat of a problem for the school considering the uniform we wear is a white shirt, and she had a huge chest, so her nipples were very noticeable through the fabric. The coordination called her and told her to please start using one again, as it was somewhat revealing, and it was making tons of people uncomfortable. Plus, it was, quote, part of the school's uniform. This girl ended up telling this to her friends, which spread all around the school, and just a few days later, majority of the female students started to protest during recess about bras not being a part of the uniform. They put thousands of posters on the school. There were also like 2 girls with megaphones, and most of the other girls were making live streams on Instagram and posting hashtags on Twitter about it. After recess was over, they left all the posters there. Me and some other students felt bad that the students had to deal with all that just because of one misinterpretation of a phrase. So we helped them clean the posters because it was technically littering and there was like hundreds of them. Anyway, pretty crazy, don't you think? Next story. To run for student office, you had to get a petition signed by a certain number of people. There was a kid running who was liked pretty well among the school and was the only returning cabinet member. He was considered the overwhelming favorite for ASB president. However, the teacher in charge of overseeing ASB disqualified his candidacy because some of his signatures weren't legible. This is the first time something like this happened. The girl he was supposed to run against was that teacher's favorite assistant. I ended up writing an article for the school paper about the situation and several other similar situations that this teacher was involved in. It was blocked from being published. Next story. This happened in the early 90s before the internet. There was a student teacher, an education major from university, doing her practicum in the classroom in her early 20s that some of the seniors ran into at the bar one night, drinking ages 18 where I live. Lots of drinking happened. She went back to a party afterward and got photographed having a threesome with 2 of the students. Photocopies of the Polaroid flooded the school. She was gone pretty much immediately. The administration swept it all under the rug, and anyone caught with a copy of the Polaroid was threatened with expulsion. Next story. 2 jocks, or can you say the stereotypical loud, rude, masculine senior boys who would pick on anyone doing anything unmanly, were caught smooching by half their class. This was before being gay became a normal thing. Some guys beat up a brown kid and did the Nazi salute to mock him during a game. He wore shirts with pictures of some sick soldiers removing Nazi flags from and around Berlin for the next few weeks. Next story. Well, the scandal is rumored to still continue. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but it's said that there's a flash drive with student nudes on it. And not just a single. It said every student who has ever sent a nude is probably on there. No clue when it started or even if it's true, though, as I've never personally seen it. Edit. It was called El Diablo. It had all the pictures of the naked seniors. Then, when the seniors are set to graduate, they pick a junior to hand it off to. It was lost a couple years back because the seniors kept it. Edit 2. That information was sourced from my sister and brother who both went there. Edit 3. It was lost because someone put a younger classman's photo onto it. Edit 4. Holy crap, as if this couldn't get worse. It's still around and the number is in the hundreds of photos. Someone still has it and apparently is adding to it. Next story. Which one? Teacher arrested for stealing money using an ATM card he stole. 2 teachers, married to other people, having a long-term affair. Teacher having 2 sexual relationships with a student. She turns 18 and graduates. He quits, divorces wife, and marries her. Chem teacher nearly blows up the school. Weiss. Health teacher slash baseball coach comes to work, drinks a glass full of Jack Daniels, and sleeps for 2 hours daily. Freshman girl caught getting spit roasted in the weight room. Band teacher has all male students, no girls, sleep at his house after each out-of-town competition. Surprise, he's essaying them. Bipolar teacher goes off her meds and goes crazy at school, curses out class, attacks principal, and cops haul her away. Next story. The wrestlers all sat and ate lunch together, just generally crap-talking and pranking never was a big deal. Until some on the JV team threw a piece of pork and hit the Hebrew varsity member straight into his unsuspecting mouth. JV dude couldn't wrestle for the next season and a half due to having the crap kicked out of him and broken ribs. Next story. Not me, but my dad. He and his friend were screwing around with firecrackers and matches in the bushes of their high school because Lord knows why. Needless to say, a half hour goes by and now all the bushes surrounding the school are on fire. Fire trucks come and put out the fire. Sit my dad down and explain to him very loudly why he shouldn't ever do anything that effing stupid again. If you drive by the school now, there aren't bushes anymore. Next story. Kid took a huge diarrhea crap in the toilets, and it went every effing where. The toilet was brown, the walls were smeared with crap all over, the sink was overflowing, and the ceiling even had crap smeared on it. The kid then attempted to clean it up by using his tie and shirt, but failed, and then he tried to piss on the walls to try and clean it, and that also failed. He then got found and taken to the headmaster, principal for my American friends. We all felt so sorry for the janitor who had to clean it up. So normally I wouldn't comment on this. I don't think that stories like this are very funny. I think they're pretty gross, but I have to call it out. Like, why are you pissing on the wall to get it off? I don't think that that actually happened. Either that or that is the dumbest human being on planet Earth. My God. Next story. My science teacher was a man from Africa. His degree was fake and bought overseas. He literally knew nothing about chemistry. He used another teacher's lessons plans, tests, PowerPoints, etc. When he was questioned about a specific term, he would always direct you back to the textbook. Next story. Oh God, so many. An 11th grader allegedly got a 9th grader pregnant. She got $1,800 from him. It comes out she lied. Another girl beat the crap out of her in front of the whole school. Kid pulls a knife on a teacher. Teacher puts kid in chokehold. Other kid has to pull teacher off kid. School caught fire at least 3 times a year. A kid started a Snapchat countdown for a car part. Everyone thought it was a gun. School got shut down. Kid got bit by a squirrel that got inside the school. Me. Next story. I'll work forward from the story to what I know is fact. One of the girls in the junior class was selling BJs to a few of the guys on the football team, and the female gym teacher caught her in the act, and facing humiliation and discipline, the girl offered sex to the teacher in exchange for silence. The two started an affair that went on for some time before they were caught going at it by a male gym teacher. Then the two of them bought him off with sex for silence and commenced a 3-way affair. Eventually, school administration found out, and the 2 teachers were fired. The girl transferred schools, and that was that. That was the everybody knows story. What is actual fact is one day, without warning, 2 teachers and a student were just gone, and people started putting rumors together. As far as the details go, was it all true? Probably not, but it was quite a salacious rumor for a while. Next story. The school had a segregation day. We had a uniform that allowed red, white, or blue shirts. One day we get there and are told that blue shirts are the privileged class. Everyone else was not. We had been told this was coming, but not what color got treated and how until the day of. Blues got a better lunch, easier assignments, more free time, etc. Everyone else did not. I think they labeled water fountains and everything. Anyone who complained enough to get sent to detention, which had been made into Revolution Central. End of the day, everyone in Revolution Central got to do a march, basically a parade around the school with signs and stuff. Parents were not pleased with all this, especially the parents of the dozen or so kids who got beaten up over their color. Suffice to say, the experiment was not repeated. There was also the time we made the news because every day one bus would literally block the main road the school was on to make it easier for the other buses to pull out. Next story. An 8th grade teacher had a relationship with one of her students. The high school principal was fired for having alcohol on school property. He brought champagne for the teachers to have a toast on the last staff workday of the year, after the students had finished the year. It was something he did every year, and there were never students in the building when it happened. Next story. About a dozen seniors in my school got suspended and weren't allowed to walk for graduation because they pulled a senior prank, and my school had a zero prank tolerance policy. The prank they pulled was they broke out in a high school musical like choreographed dance in the main hub. Everyone loved it. Even the teachers and hall monitors thought it was a great prank. But the superintendent was a jerkwad and punished them all anyways. Next story. One of the econ professors, college, ran a website about how to get a prostitute in Asia. Can't remember which country, but it may have been Thailand. His full name and picture on the website and everything. Nobody did anything about it. Students would ask about it in class too. Plus, he's a terrible professor. I remember him lecturing about stuff, then the tests were literally something completely different. He'd spend an entire lecture talking about something completely random. Pretty sure he had less than a 1 on Rate My Professor. Also, for high school, this happened 2 years after I graduated though, one of the teachers had a Google Plus account. Yep, where he posted nudes of himself. His full name and everything. Students found it and he got fired. You know, if you're gonna do this kind of stuff outside of your job, like at least have the foresight to use an alias and alter ego. Don't put your information attached to this when you're a working professional, especially working with children. Come on. Next story. Oh boy, I remember my high school scandal that made the news. Basically, this wasn't reported until one teacher spoke up, but anyways, a teacher for one of my classes was getting upskirt photos taken of her by the other students in my class. The guys went around emailing other students the pics, and eventually, one student told my teacher what was going on, and that's how the domino effect started. I was unaware this was all happening until the whole school got lectured. The guys were brought in, and I think were eventually expelled for what they did. But a while after, a couple other teachers came forward that they experienced the same behavior from other students of theirs. One decided to sue the school, and instead of leaving, claiming she didn't feel safe during the incidents, she returned a while after the incident was reported, while she was interviewed as well, on the news to a lot of angry and disapproving students who had nothing to do with what happened. I also just found that strange, and strange that the school let her return. No idea what's happened to her since then, but that's my version from what I can remember. Next story. There is an older guy, let's say mid-50s, who was going around different schools in my county and stealing out the locker room of sports teams. My football team and I thought it was a joke until our stuff started going missing. One day I came back from practice and was missing a pair of unwashed socks, some of my jerseys, and even my girdle. Yuck. A guy ended up having his house raided, and he was caught with hundreds of items from sports teams from schools in my area. Imagine this guy sniffing my stinky-ass socks while doing some weird crap. What a freak. Next story. When I read the bad things that people are putting here, the scandals show me what good schools you went to. Apart from the predators and guys getting teachers pregnant, we had most of these things happening on a daily basis. It's not even that I went to a terrible school. It did fail its OSTED twice and has subsequently been knocked down and turned into an academy, but I know that other schools in my area were a lot worse. If there was a black teacher or any other race than white, they would be subject to racism from the students. We used to leave if we wanted a cigarette. Many times we smoked in class, and the teacher would sometimes escalate to the head of year or headmaster, but nothing ever really happened. One time we made a bong and smoked a joint in French, and we locked the teacher's door so she couldn't leave. We used to get bottles of spirits in our blazer pockets, then get the meter-long licorice straws, bite off each end, place in the booze and through our sleeves so we could drink in class. There were fights daily, usually in the classroom, and it would just get split up and the lesson would continue. As I'm writing this, I'm realizing that schools in this country are pretty much effed. F me, do I miss school though. Next story. Little late to the thread, but I'll comment anyways. While walking to class one day, we were told classes were canceled and no one knew why. The story came out a few days later, and I guess a professor was having an affair with a lady and she came to his office. She basically told him to choose between her or his wife, and he chose his wife and told her it was over. Then she pulled out some gas from somewhere and lit herself on fire. I guess some paper in the room started on fire as well, and the fire alarm went off. Next story. I fear I'm a little late to this, but here goes. I went to a special needs school in England. About 100 students, 90% boys. Here's just some of the crap that went down. There's much more, I just can't remember it. During year 9 art class, I was not very good at art, so was allowed to rehearse something for drama in the supply cupboard. Our teacher at the time was a stunning Irish woman with a heart of gold. Uncharacteristically shouted, "What the F you be doing, Gordon?" Not his real name. I rushed out of the room and Gordon was being escorted by support staff. Neither my art teacher nor my TA would tell me what happened, so I had to hear it from another student. Turns out, the teacher had been on the other side of the room when Gordon broke into her laptop, opened the internet, searched for bestiality adult content, and started pleasuring himself. Year 9, not my year, probably about 4 or 5 years above, gets detention in French class, tries to avoid it by drinking the ink from a ballpoint pen. She was okay, thankfully. Kid joins our class at the start of year 7. People tell he's just evil, like too evil, even for our school. He becomes a horrendous bully and gets expelled after 3 weeks from a school it's almost impossible to get expelled from. The final straw was when he didn't show up for registration, what we call homeroom in the UK. Then jumped my best friend as we walked to our first class, put his hands on his throat, and would have killed him had a 6'6" ex-Marine TA not been there to break it up. Our year 9 TA once confiscated a bottle of avian water containing vodka from a student. The following year, he was fired due to his alcohol problem. Our high school had a bad crop of success. One student is currently serving time for essaying someone in the women's bathroom. Another became one of the most well-known weed dealers in the area and would go on to murder someone who didn't pay his debts with a medieval sword. Also, about 10 years before I started, one of the teachers went to jail for groping several female students. Those were the days. Next story. It was high school that was connected with junior high school, so it could be a kid aged 13 to 19. He brought a butterfly knife to school and played with it. During break, he decided to play by cutting dandelions, and he accidentally stabbed himself in the leg. He pulled the knife out, and what happened next was a massive bleeding. He survived, but barely. Despite first aid lessons, no students helped him initially, only the teacher who may or may not have supervised that area. Next story. Our school banned blankets. For what, you may ask? Well, it started when the kids in the middle school would bring them. This traveled to the high school. Usually they brought a blanket and very small pillows so they could sleep during break. The 11th graders, not so much. One specific couple was always very touchy, and the blankets made this hell for everyone but them. She always would sit in his lap, and they had discreet sex whenever they could. Then kids brought pot to hide in them too. Blankets were banned the next day. Next story. A few years back, some seniors decided to pull a prank. They released 3 pigs into the school, labeled 1, 2, and 4. Then they brought paintball guns into the hallways and started shooting people between periods. Before all these started, they had poured grease on the staircases, so people were falling down the stairs in the panic. Our school has a child care class where preschool kids would periodically come in, and this happened to be one of those days. I believe a preschooler was shot accidentally with a paintball, and a teacher broke some bones falling down the stairs. Eventually, some of the athletic gym teachers were able to chase down and pin the kids while the cops were called. The students got arrested and expelled, and the pigs were rounded up, and the rest of the day was spent looking for pig number 3. Next story. Okay, so for background context, this is a private school in a Muslim country, so most people are really conservative and homophobic. Long story short, 3 guys, 15 to 17, were caught pleasuring each other off in an empty bus in the middle of recess. Unrelated, a girl, 13, was hooking up with 3, yes, 3, guys, 16, and when caught, claimed that they forced her and were essaying her. Total a-hole move, I know. I guess she preferred ruining a couple of years of life for these guys than her own. They believed her, and 2 of the guys were kicked out of the school, and the other had a couple weeks suspension, but managed to graduate. Next story. My friends and I always ate our lunch in the halls next to one friend's locker. We got sick of having to take our trays back to the lunchroom, so we just threw them in said locker. Eventually, that locker got full, so we moved to another until 4 lockers were full. After about 6 months, trays were getting harder to come by, and the lunchroom would run out of trays halfway through lunch. Announcements went out first, nicely asking for the trays to be returned, and they banned trays from leaving the lunchroom. We had around 400 trays hidden still, and not sure what to do with them. And then the announcement went out that they were going to search all lockers for the trays if someone didn't report where they were or turn themselves in. One of our friend's dad worked at the high school, so he stole his key and we snuck in one night. We took all the trays out of the lockers into the football field. We spelled out the letters of our rival high school and left them there to be found the next day. Our plan worked, and the faculty believed that this was just a prank by the other high school. Next story. I recently just graduated from high school, but it was a private school, and they told a girl who got SA'd on a school trip that, quote, this kind of thing happens all the time, and did nothing about it. Here's what happened. Some class or extracurricular went on a school trip to Europe for like 4 to 6 days. This girl was not the only girl on the entire trip, so what do they decide to do with that? Room her by herself. Not even the female chaperone was with her, who, by the way, was also a faculty member of the school. On the last night of their stay, a man broke into her room with her by herself and essayed her. When she went to tell the chaperone, she dismissed it like it was nothing. She brought it up at the airport again, and the chaperone turned to her and said, unfortunately, this kind of thing happens all the time. Absolutely disgusting. The school was tied into this because it was a school trip, and the chaperone, who was also a faculty member, who's effed in the head, was an employee of the school. Needless to say, the family of the girl sued the school for a lot.